What is going on, guys? Winner Kills here, and welcome to a brand new Necroz deck profile. It has been so long since I've played this deck. The last time I played it, I was gin locking people and winning games in a very dirty way, because that's just basically what you did with Necroz back in the day. You would gin lock your opponent to death, and obviously the deck was a very powerful deck. As a tier 1, almost tier 0 deck back in the day, 2015. But the deck has gotten a lot of support back recently through the Incantations and through the ban list. And the deck is still actually a very strong and consistent strategy to this day, in my opinion. It has a lot of great matchups against a lot of decks like Salamangreat and Thunder Dragon as well, especially if you get the chance to go first. This deck does have a bit of a hard time breaking boards, and it's relatively cheap. I guess some pros and some cons listing out there, but it's a super awesome deck. Still very powerful. We still have cards like Brionac, Unicore, Trishula, Preparation to Rights, Zaborg the Mega Monarch. This deck is just packed with so many sleeper cards. And yeah, gonna go ahead and bring you guys this deck profile. If you guys want to pick up any of the mats or sleeves that I'm using in this video, feel free to check out Imperium Duelist down in the description below. But without further ado, we'll get started. And our first monster we have here, the first ritual monster, is Nekroz of Brionac. Thankfully, no longer $150 a copy, just a measly $3 or so for a copy of the ultra rare reprint from Dual Power. Although the original, I believe, is the secret rare, is still like $25 or something, which is absolutely ridiculous. So moving forward, we have 3 copies of Nekroz of Brionac. Also to mention, those that don't know, Nekroz of Brionac, basically you can discard him to add any Nekroz monster from your deck to your hand, and you can target his other effect while on field, as you can target up to 2 face-up monsters in the field that were special from the extra deck and shuffle them into the deck. So basically just a double bounce for extra deck monsters. Very strong card. Then we have Nekroz of Valkyrs, a card that I've been playing at 2 pretty much the entire time I've ever played this deck. I've always ever played 2 Valk. But I think with Unicore at 1, we have a bit more room for ritual monsters in general, because normally we'd be playing 3 Unicore, but we can only play 1 because of the ban list, and hopefully we will get some more support off the ban list. I think Unicore is so powerful, it probably will stay at 1 for a little while, but Shurit is a card that I could see coming back to 2 in future ban lists. So let's keep our fingers crossed for that. But Nekroz of Valkyrs, level 8, basically says when your opponent monster declares an attack, you can banish 1 Nekroz card from your graveyard and discard this card, negate the attack, then end the battle phase. So this is pretty much going to stop your opponent from ever trying to beat over the Unicore or trying to OTK you, unless they get lucky and have it called by the grave. The other effect is during your main phase, you can tribute up to 2 monsters from your hand and or field, and if you do, draw the same number of cards you tributed. So this card is a walking pot of greed, as it would. Just tribute 2, draw 2. It's not a walking pot of greed, but you got to tribute. Especially with the Incantations in this deck, you do a lot of times have a lot of tribute fodder to bring this guy out. Moving on, 2 copies of Nekroz of Trishula. I'm pretty sure we all know what this guy does. He's slightly different than the Synchro version. He can banish a card. He has to banish exactly 3 cards. 1 from the hand, 1 from the field, 1 from the grave. If a card is not present in either of those areas, he cannot activate that effect to banish. Of course, that effect does not target, so a very strong removal card. But he has another effect that says when a card or effect is activated that targets a Nekroz monster or monsters you control, quick effect, you can discard this card, negate the activation. So very strong, again, for protection for a lot of your monsters. Next, we have 2 Nekroz of Clausulus. This one basically discards to add a Nekroz spell or trap. Ironically, we do not have a Nekroz trap still to this day. We only have Nekroz spells. Maybe we'll get a Nekroz trap someday in the future. Hopefully it's not like a counter trap that says negate a billion things. I mean, that'd be kind of cool if it was, actually, since I have the deck. But the other effect is during the player's turn, you can target 1 face-up monster on the field that was special summoned in the extra deck until the end of this turn. That target's attack becomes 0. Also, that target's effects are negated. So that is his on-field effect. So very strong card on the field and very strong card to have in hand. This was the usual suspect for the monster that would be summoned with the Gen Releaser of Rituals, but so no longer that menacing of a card, but still a very strong card that we want to play in the main deck at multiple copies. 1 Nekroz of Gungnir. This card is really good. Honestly, I think it's debatable whether or not you could play this or a copy of Decisive Armor, since I'm not playing Decisive Armor in this build, just because it's probably one of the worst Necroz monsters next to Catastor to at least draw into in an opening hand. But Gungnir allows you to basically discard it, then target a Necroz monster you control cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects this turn. So basically, if you don't get to Valk and you see Gungnir, you can basically protect your Unicore basically for the entire turn from destruction by battle or card effect. But its on-field effect is during either player's turn, you can discard a Necroz card, then target a card in the field and destroy it. So it's like a walking Raigeki break. Very, very strong card to have on the field. Then one Necroz of Unicore. Basically, now the deck is sort of like Protect the Unicore deck, because this card is so incredibly strong. For one of the reasons it's at 1. So basically, it says you can discard this card to target a Necroz card in your graveyard, except itself, and add it to your hand. And then the other effect is you can only use the other effect is negate the effects of face-up monsters on the field that were special summoned from the extra deck. So skill drain for the extra deck. Literally no extra deck monsters activating their effects anywhere, unless they're on, if they're on the field, then they can't activate. If they're in the grave, then yeah. But this card is so incredibly powerful. Such a stun card for so many decks to deal with. Think about it. Soundgrade, Sky Strikers, Thunder Dragon, completely turning off the extra deck, and having the ability to protect it with either Gungnir, Trish, or Valkyrus. Such a very, very strong card. And then the last ritual monster is one Incantation, Chalice Slime. This card basically says that you can discard a card in your hand, and if you do special summon an Incantation monster from your deck, and also during the end phase, lose 2,500 life points. If you done that, special summon a ritual monster this turn after you resolve this effect. So basically what this guy is, if you don't discard himself, which I do sometimes, but a lot of times you can spare another card in your hand to keep this in your hand, so every turn you can keep discarding to spec an Incantation monster from your deck. And when those are special summoned, you'll either get to add a ritual monster from deck, or grave to hand, or a ritual spell from grave to hand. So this card facilitates a lot of searching potential. Very, very strong card. So that's it for the rituals. I believe that is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13 ritual monsters. You could cut the third Valk for Decisive Armor, but I just value having the third Valk, I guess, in some cases, better than having the Decisive Armor. Then for the other Necroz monsters here, one Shuret, then one Dance Princess. Would play multiple copies of Shuret, easily a 3 of, in my opinion, if it was at 3. Basically, this card allows you to ritual summon any Necroz monster that requires use of monsters, and basically, this lets you use it as the whole tribute. It's so good. And if it is tributed by a card effect, you can add a warrior-type Necroz ritual monster from your deck to your hand. So this will either search a Clausulus, a Trishula, or a Bryonic, because I believe, yeah, those are the 3 targets. You have Bryo, Trish, and the Klaus, all warriors. So very good search card, or very good cards to search in general. And the simple fact that allows to be used as the entire tribute is even better. Then Dance Princess is a bit of a tech choice, I would say, even though it is kind of common with a lot of Necroz builds. Basically, while it's on the field, your opponent cannot activate cards or effects in response to the activation of Necroz ritual spell card. And Necroz ritual monster control cannot be targeted by an opponent's card effect, or targeted by an opponent's card effects. It's so good going against a lot of matchups. For specifically Sky Strikers, normaling this and then going off with a Kaleidoscope, sending Herald into Unicore. Very, very strong card, because they cannot target your Unicore with something like a Widow Anchor to sort of turn that off. Very, very good card. And that says, if this card is distributed by a card effect, you can target one of your banished Necroz monsters except itself and add it to your hand. You can only use this effect of Dance Princess of the Necroz once per turn. So Dance Princess allows you to recycle key cards like Shuret after this card gets banished, because a lot of times you get a double use out of it in the same turn. You'll use like Cycle to send it from your hand to revive something from grave or something from your hand, and then you use Exomirror to banish from the grave again to get another ritual summon, using this card again as the whole tribute, since the whole tribute effect is not once per turn. And then once it's banished, you can use Dance Princess to get it back. Same thing if any of your other Necroz monsters are getting banished either off of Valk or off your ritual spell effects, which we'll get to later. So moving forward into the other monsters here, we have 3 copies of Manju with the 10,000 hands. Just so good. The best normal, one of the best normal summons in the deck. One of the best. If it's normal or flip face up, you can add a ritual or ritual spell, a ritual monster or ritual spell card from your deck to your hand. So just obviously a very good play starter. Then the other normal summon we're playing in this deck is triple Zaborg, the Mega Monarch. This card is a complete blowout against pretty much every top tier deck that I can think of. Sky Striker, Thunder Dragon, Salamangreat, Orcus. This card just blows those decks out of the water when resolved. Basically, if this card is tribute summon, you can target a monster on the field, destroy it. Then if it was a light monster, both players send as many cards as possible from their extra deck to the graveyard, but no more than the original level / rank of that destroyed monster. If this card was tribute summoned by tributing a light monster, add this additional effect. You choose the cards your opponent sends to the graveyard. So a lot of the times you'll be able to set this up through an incantation play, because that'll give you 2 monsters onto the field. Then you'll follow up by normal summoning this Zaborg, destroying himself. You'll get to send 8 cards from your extra deck to the graveyard, including cards like Herald of the Arclight, Totally Awesome, NTTS, etc., etc. And you also get to send cards of your choice from your opponent's extra deck to the graveyard if you tributed a late monster for the tribute summon of this card. Such a powerful card. I know Vanity's Ruler is another option, but I feel like Vanity's Ruler is so fragile against a lot of decks. It just falls victim to cards like Impermanence against a deck like Sky Striker, Widow Anchor, or Afterburners, since you can't actually protect that Vanity's Ruler. Although it is very easy to set up with just Bryonak and any incantation monster, either like Pencil Plume or like Chalice Slime. You can set it up pretty easily, just a 2-card combo. But I feel like this card is a bit better. And it's when you pull it off, it's literally game ending, as where Ruler can be outed in some way, shape, or form. Yes, this can be hand trapped, but I think it's just better than the Ruler play, in my opinion. Then moving on for the Incantations, 2 copies of Talismandra. This one you can reveal a ritual monster in your hand to special summon this and another Incantation from your deck. And if you special summon from the deck, you get to add a ritual monster. 2 Pencil Plume. Same thing with him. He can special summon himself and another Incantation from the deck by revealing a ritual monster. But if he's special summoned from the deck, he gets to add a ritual monster from grave back to hand, which is really strong for getting the cards back, like Unicore and Bryo. 2 Candle. He special summons himself by revealing a ritual spell in your hand and summoning itself and another Incantation from deck. And when he's special summoned from the deck, you get to add a ritual spell. And then I'm playing just 1 of Bookstone. I think this is probably the worst Incantation, because you do have to reveal a ritual spell, again, much like Candle. But when he's special summoned from the deck, you add back a ritual card from grave. So very rarely resolving that effect, since we have cards like Preparation of Rites that do sort of the same thing, and they are a little bit better. So just playing 8 or 2, 4, 6, 8 incantations total, if you count all of these, 7, and then the 1 Chalice Slime. So yeah, that's it for the monsters. Now we will go into the spells. To start with the spells, none other than triple Preparation of Rites. Basically, this card is not a hard once per turn either. That's one thing to take into account. It's literally busted. If you see 3 of these in a turn, you can resolve 3 of them. And its effect is add 1 level 7 or lower ritual monster from your deck to your hand. Then you can add 1 ritual spell card from your graveyard to your hand. So you can just use this to add 3 ritual monsters in the same turn if you were to open all 3, because that second effect is optional. So if you don't have a ritual spell in your graveyard on activation, you can still use this card because it is optional. It doesn't require that ritual spell has to be in the graveyard. So a very strong card. 1/1 for some time because of this deck, and is now back at 3. 2 copies of Necroz Mirror, 2 copies of Necroz Cycle, and 1 copy of Necroz Kaleidoscope. Kaleidoscope playing at 1, just because you're really only ever going to resolve this card. Ideally resolve this card 1 time, and that's going to be at the start of your turn 1, sending Herald to summon Unicore, and then any other time you need it other than that, you can get it back with Prep or the Bookstone. But most cases for the rest of the game, you're going to be using cards like Mirror or Cycle, just because they are a little bit more applicable in the game past turn 1. Cycle allows you to tribute any monster, summon a Necroz monster from your hand, or graveyard, which is really awesome. You can tribute monsters from your hand or field as well. Necroz Mirror allows you to ritual summon any Necroz ritual monster by tributing monster from your hand or field, and or banishing a Necroz monsters from your graveyard. So if you use the banish effect, you have to use Necroz monsters, but if you use just field or hand, you can use any monster, so incantations do count there. Then next, here's a bit of a budget option to the main draw power engine that people have chose to play in this deck right now, which is Pot of Extravagance, which is a bit counterintuitive to the Zaborg strategy, but still very good for consistency nonetheless. This Celestial Observatory basically allows you to place a level 6 monster from your hand or face it field from the bottom of the, to the bottom of the deck, and then draw 2 cards. So this card works very, very well with the incantations. Anytime you can get a Talismanander on board with this card, you just put the Talismanander back to the bottom deck, draw 2 more cards. Or if you draw into a Brio or something later on, after you've already resolved a Brio, you can put the Brio back, draw 2 more cards, and search it out later. Such a strong card in here, just because it's a budget option. It doesn't cost $150 for a play set of these. I'm trying out at 2. I might cut it down to 1. This card can brick sometimes because you don't have the level 6 or a way to get to a level 6. But most of the time you will, because you can get to Brionek so easy, and you can get to Talismanander pretty easy in most cases, just because of the nature of the incantations themselves. So I like Celestial Observatory in my personal opinion. 1 Rhoda to search out either Kloss or Shuret. 1 double or nothing. You can make rank 4s in this deck, but some of the best rank 4s that you would typically make in this deck are banned, i.e. Lavalval Chain, Dagusto Emerald. This deck really can't OTK in a sense, so playing the double or nothing was just a little spicy tech of mine. You don't have to play this, I'm just testing it out just for the memes, I guess. 1 Incantation Inception. This card is really nice because it allows you to ritual summon any ritual monster, and it allows you to tribute incantation monsters. You have to tribute incantation monsters for this, but it allows you to equal or exceed the levels of the monster you are trying to ritual summon. So this can clear a lot of incantations off your field. Summon things like Trish, Valk, and Gungnir. Very, very helpful card. And if it's in your graveyard, you can send 1 incantation card from your hand or face it field to the graveyard, except itself, and then add this card from your graveyard to your hand, and you get to special summon an incantation monster from your deck as well. So it's recyclable, which is very, very nice. Then that is it for the spells. I believe, yeah, a couple spells here. Yeah, and that is it for the spells. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13 spells there in the main deck. And the last 3 traps I'm choosing to play, a bit of attack, not needed though, is triple summon limit. This deck does not do a lot of summoning, does very little summoning, maybe 2 tops per turn, which is why I think this card fits very, very well into this deck. And it's also a very, very good stun card against a lot of the top tier decks. I believe Raymond Dye was playing this in his striker deck for Nationals. Came in clutch for him, obviously, in that tournament, as he did get second. But it's just such a good, side deck card, but that I'm choosing to main. Just because this deck sort of plays like a stun deck now with the Unicore at 1. And anytime you can sort of add on to that stun factor even more with a card like Summon Limit, I feel like it just gets a little bit better. You could also play a card like There Can Be Only One, too. I feel like that card wouldn't be bad. Then moving forward for the extra deck here, start triple Herald of the Arclight. Basically, if it's sent to the graveyard, you can add any ritual spell or ritual monster from your deck to your hand. Such a fantastic card in here. So good. Your main target off of Kaleidoscope and, of course, Zaborg. Then we have 1 Necroz, or 1 Brionek of the Ice Barrier as a good Kaleidoscope target, just to be able to summon a card like Brionek turn 1, out cards like Thunder Dragon Colossus. 1 Omega, this is a great target to send off of the Zaborg as well, because it will recycle itself, and a Herald to use again. 1 White Orb Bahamut, level 10 Synchro for the level 10 Synchro to send off Kaleidoscope for cards like Brionek and Unicore, or Gungnir and Clausulus, because the Kaleidoscope allows you to send from extra deck to summon up to as many Necroz monsters as you can. You could also play a level 11 Synchro in here to send to be able to summon Valkyrie and Unicore at the same time. That's another option, but I like the level 10 just a bit more. So that is it for the Synchros. Now we will move into the Xyz monsters. To start, we have double Totally Awesome. Good target to send off of the Zaborg as well. 1 Utopia double to search out that double or nothing. And then, of course, the 1 number 39 Utopia to go for that 10,000 damage. That's it for the Xyz. Just a couple Xyz there. Then moving into the fusions, 2 copies of Elder Entity NTTS. NTS or Entis, whatever you want to call it. I literally don't know how this card is pronounced. Basically, if it's sent to the graveyard, you can target a card in the field and destroy it. It's very good going second for Zaborg, but I didn't want to commit to 3 because going first with this deck I feel is a bit better, so I didn't want to like play 3 of these and have to worry about sending all of them going first and then them just having no targets. I felt that was kind of a waste. Then probably the best monster in the entire X deck, Armatile the Chaos Phantom. This is just a level 12 to send off your Kaleidoscope to be able to summon Valkyris and Unicore. Valkyris and Unicore. The level 11 is to summon the cards like Gungnir and Unicore at the same time. But this card, a level 12 definitely needed. Level 11 not so much. Level 12 for sure. Just because summoning Valkyris and Unicore at the same time is very, very strong. Yeah, so you can use this to summon Trish and Klaus at the same time too, which is pretty strong. So definitely want to play level 12, and you can also stylize whatever level 12 you want to play. You could play Armatile, you could play Quasar, you could play Dragon Master Knight, you could play 5-headed Dragon, Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. So basically this card is just style points. Choose whatever one you would like. Does not matter. Any level 12 will do, like I said. And then the 2 links, one Mastar Boy and one Nightmare Phoenix. Mastar Boy can be made here because we play a lot of water monsters, so why not? And if it hits the grave, you just get to add one of them back. And then outing back row is nice as well. Generic back row removal. So yeah, that is it for the extra deck and the main deck. Pretty excited to bring you guys Nekroz. It's been so many years since this deck has been on the channel in any way, shape, or form. And super happy that it is back. Hope you guys are excited for this profile. Going to be getting some duels up, maybe some combos as well, or some test hands. I don't know. Probably not test hands, maybe combos. I don't know, but definitely some duel videos for sure. So thank you guys so much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed. As always, Winter Kill signing out. We'll see you guys in the next one.